Welcome to part 8 of Let Your Fire Fall, Jesus. Let your fire fall. And let's jump right on into this footage.
Siege against Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples. All who would heave it away will surely be cut in pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it.
His stated intention of visiting the site earlier this week drew threats from Islamic militant group Hamas, but that didn't put off Itamar Ben-Gvir. The ultra-nationalist Israeli National Security Minister started Tuesday with a visit to the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, or Temple Mount, to Jews.
The Israeli government I'm a member of will not surrender to a despicable, murderous organization. The Temple Mount is open to all, and if Hamas thinks that it will deter me with threats, they should understand times have changed.
The hilltop is the third holiest site in Islam and the holiest site for Jews. Israel captured it from Jordan in 1967, but the Jordanians remain its official custodians, under an agreement which allows Muslims to enter any time, while non-Muslims can only do so at certain times and on condition they don't pray. In recent years, though, there's been a growing movement of Jews who support worship at the site. Ben-Gvir has long called for greater Jewish access and has visited before, although Tuesday was his first time as a minister. The Palestinians have called it an unprecedented provocation.
We consider this break-in as an official Israeli invitation to a round of violence that will be hard to control. We call on the international community and especially the American administration to move immediately and to stop the activities of this government.
The United States stands firmly, and we've been very clear for preservation of the status quo with respect to the holy sites in Jerusalem. Any unilateral action that jeopardizes the status quo is unacceptable.
We're deeply concerned by any unilateral actions that have the potential to exacerbate tensions.
Competing claims for the holy site have sparked numerous rounds of violence in the past. In 2000, a visit by then opposition leader Ariel Sharon, accompanied by more than 1,000 heavily armed police and soldiers, sparked the second Palestinian Intifada, which lasted until 2005. Palestinians view Ben-Gvir's visit as a potential precursor to Israel's new far-right government taking complete control over the compound.
The Gaza-based terror organization Hamas threatened that Ben-Gvir's pilgrimage would ignite the region and warned it would not stand idly by. The Palestinian Authority also condemned the visit in a statement, calling it an unprecedented provocation. Despite the threats and warnings, Ben-Gvir's visit to the Temple Mount occurred in full consultation and approval of Israeli security forces and without incident. Though now, Israel will likely be on high alert for retaliation by terror organizations following the visit.
Iris Mackler, she joins me now. Iris, just tell us a bit more about...
Do you understand the implications here? They're trying to stop the Jewish people from praying on Temple Mount. They're doing anything and everything they can. This beast system, they try to take over the kingdom of God. Now, I want you to pray on this, study on this, reflect on this. They're doing anything and everything that they can to try to divide up Israel, because the fig tree generation is now 73 years old, 74 years old now, and the state of Israel, and they're trying to part up the land. They're trying to do all kinds of things that God has not given them permission to do. And God is turning his attention back now to this, and the tribulation is not far off. If you do not see this, then you are sleeping really well and you're already believing a strong delusion.
What happened today and why that visit was so controversial.
The visit was controversial because of where it is. This site is the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, the third holiest site for Muslims. It's also the Temple Mount, the site where the temple was previously before its destruction. That's what Jews call it. That's why it's holy to Jews. And there is a, I guess you call it an order for how things are done. And under that order, Jews can visit but don't pray. And what we see with Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is a hardline, far-right new minister, is that he's part of the very small number of Jews at the moment who want to return to Jewish prayer. So that's something that he wants to change. He has said that that this area, the Temple Mount, as he calls it, the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, should be open to Jews. And he does go there, despite the fact that it is a breach of this order. So it's very fraught, it's very tense, and it's the heart of this conflict.
And Iris, given some of the reaction today from places like the White House and indeed from the government here in Paris, it's clear this is becoming an issue of international concern, isn't it?
That's right. It is an issue of international concern because people outside as well as inside realise how very combustible this area is, how important it is.
They are condemning this. Others are condemning these actions of this man to go here and to pray. This is land that God gave to the Jews to begin with. And who is man to condemn these actions of this man who wanted to go pray? In my thoughts and in my mind, I say man has no right to divide these things. This was God's land. This is land that God gave to the Jews to begin with. And if you think there are not going to be complications and repercussions, but we are approaching the time of the Gentiles, aren't we? Oh, yes. And all must be fulfilled. All must be fulfilled. Now, that's the rock of the dome that is there with that golden thing here. Let's look at this picture.
Temple Mount between the Jews and the Muslims. Some believe it will be by building
Right
the
there,
third
that's
Jewish
the rock
temple,
of the
which
dome.
could be located next to the Dome of the Rock.
With the
This
gold
would satisfy both Jews and Muslims, as Jews will get their third temple, and the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque will remain untouched and in Muslim control. Does the Bible prophesy that a third temple will be built? Daniel 9:27. Then he, the Antichrist, shall confirm a covenant with many, who is Israel, the Palestinians, and possibly other Muslim nations, for 1 week, which is 7 years. But in the middle of the week, 3.5 years, he, the Antichrist, shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation, which is determined, is poured out on the desolate.
We need to understand something here. That the true sacrifice is Jesus. He is Messiah. He is King and He is returning. And the sacrifice that is going to be made desolate there is in fact the sacrifice of Jesus. When the false Messiah stands in the third temple and declares himself to be the Messiah. Yes, when the false Messiah comes and declares himself to be Mashiach. And that is coming. That day is vastly approaching. It very much is. Now, let's get on into some more of this footage. Whoop.
Minister of National Security Itamar Ben-Gvir lashed out at the U.S. and other countries for being hypocrites. Ben-Gvir refuses to say he will not try to change the status quo on the site and calls the current situation racist against Jews. The wave of international criticism was fast in coming. Egypt issued a sharp condemnation warning of negative repercussions to security and stability in the region. Abraham Accords partner UAE called the visit a serious and provocative violation. Shortly thereafter, Prime Minister Netanyahu announced the postponement of a planned visit to the Gulf state. There were angry words from Turkey and Saudi Arabia. Jordan falsely claimed that there had been a storming of the Al-Aqsa and a violation of its sanctity. Israeli Ambassador Eitan Sirkis was summoned for a dressing down. Jordan views itself as the custodian of the Muslim mosques on the Temple Mount. The 1994 peace treaty acknowledges the kingdom's special role at the site. Israel captured the Temple Mount from Jordan in the 1967 Six-Day War. Israel allows the Jordanian Waqf to continue to maintain religious authority on the site. Ben-Gvir spent about 15 minutes early morning in open areas on the Temple Mount, far from the mosques, never entering any of the Muslim places of worship. The visit came at a time when Jews are allowed to enter the site on a daily basis, which Ben-Gvir had done on numerous occasions. The Palestinian Authority falsely claimed the visit was part of a plot to rebuild the Jewish temple.
الذين أحبطوا مؤامرة البوابات إلى التصدي لمثل هذه الاقتحامات التي تستهدف جعل المسجد الأقصى معبدا يهوديا.
Ben-Gvir says his goal is to ensure Jewish rights at the site.
הר הבית זה המקום הכי חשוב לעם ישראל. הר הבית פתוח לכולם, עולים כאן מוסלמים, נוצרים, וכן, גם יהודים. גם יהודים. בממשלה שאני חבר בה לא תהיה אפליה גזענית, ויהודים יעלו להר הבית.
Ben-Gvir has long advocated for changing the Temple Mount status quo, which allows Muslim entry and prayer with few restrictions, while Jews can visit only during limited times, closely accompanied by police.
Jesus said, as a sign of his coming and the end of the age, there would be an increase in deception, false Christs who will deceive many, wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom, famines, pestilences, earthquakes, Christian persecution, apostasy, false prophets, and lawlessness, causing the love of many to grow cold. Jesus said all of these signs would come like birth pains. Jesus was likening last days events to a woman in labor. As the labor progresses, the pains increase in both frequency and intensity until the baby finally comes. As we get closer to Jesus' return, all the signs he gave us as a sign of his coming and the end of the age will become more frequent and more intense. All of these signs are manifesting around the world in our time. The Bible...
They are manifesting in our time. These signs of these things definitely are manifesting in our time. They absolutely are. And we see this happening. These things are happening on a daily basis.
Little ship that's holed beneath the waterline slowly sink. And at some point, what you want to do is to stop it sinking and make sure that it floats. And I don't think the monarchy can float if it becomes a multicultural, multi-faith monarchy. What we've been seeing is a very slow, gradual shift from being a Christian monarchy to a multi-faith one. The problem is that you're either a defender of the faith or you're not. And there are some very...
You're either a defender of the faith or you are not. Now, you are either for Jesus or you are against him. We cannot holler that we are non-denominational when the Bible makes it clear that we have to be denominational. We have to be set in one doctrine and not be like the waves of the sea tossed to and fro. We have to follow Jesus. One Lord, one faith, one baptism. I'll see you in the next part.